In today's Most Wanted video, I'll be going over my most wanted video game Marvel Legends for Hasbro to make. Now there aren't too many video games that I think a lot of people would want, the main ones being the two Spider-Man games, which I'll get into in this video. Now there is going to be a Wolverine game later this year, but I'm not going to mention any characters from that because I'm pretty sure we'll get a plethora of Logans and a plethora of Wolverines from that game. Now you do have other video games, the Guardians of the Galaxy video game and the Avengers one. Now I haven't played either of those, but I'm not going to really mention characters from that because I highly doubt we'll ever even get any of those, and they're not really that desirable. The Avengers ones, obviously they've done a wave before and they didn't even really sell well. And as for that Guardians video game, the looks are pretty identical to the MCU ones. The only standout is Gamora because she actually has the white suit unlike the MCU, so I guess that's the only character that will be somewhat desirable. But either way, let's talk about my honorable mention. Now I do only have one honorable mention, and that is Annihilus from the Cosmic Invasion game. Now if you want to know what I think and how they can release this figure, check out my previous video, my most wanted comic Marvel Legend action figure video. In that video I did go over how they can release a Annihilus, and I also did mention the video game, so check that video out if you want to know more of how they can release that figure. But either way, let's get on to my most wanted. Now the first kind of wave of figures I want to talk about are from the Spider-Man PS4 video game, more specifically the Sinister Six. Now we did get one character from that team, and that is Mr. Negative. Now the only reason we did get him is because he was just a simple suited body. Now obviously that's the only villain they've done from this team, which does kind of suck. Now out of all of the characters, the first one I can see them doing is Electro, mainly due to the fact that his legs and his torso are just a shirt and pants. The only thing that would have to be new with this character is the head, the arms, and the jacket piece. And even if for whatever reason they did a new body for this figure, they can just reuse this mold for other characters because it is just basic. Now this will be your standard $28 release. Hopefully it comes with, fisted hands, wide open hands, an electric effect, and an extra head sculpt. The next character I think is most likely in this set would be Doc Ock. The main reason being he is just in a jumpsuit, so I do feel like they can reuse this body in the future for other characters. Obviously it would have to be a new sculpt for this character. Now in the future, if they were to reuse this body, they would have to make a new torso because obviously the tentacles would have to plug into the back. Now if they do this figure, he should have the bendy wire tentacles, at least 4 different head pieces, obviously ones that are open, kind of flat, ones that are closed, and in a perfect world, ones that are articulated, and then just 2 extra pairs of hands, one fisted, one kind of open monologue style hands. This is one I don't really see them giving an extra head sculpt because he doesn't really emote a lot of emotion until the very end of the video game. As for the price, I do think he would be around $40 just because the MCU version was that price, and this is pretty much the same, obviously same character, the tentacles, all of that stuff. So this is one I do hope we eventually get. The next character I want to talk about is Scorpion. Now this character would have to be 100% new sculpt. As for reusing this kind of body in the future, I don't really know who they can reuse this for. It is an armored up suit, so the only thing I can think of is like some sort of Iron Man version. I did look into it like on Google and stuff, couldn't really find anything that matched perfectly, but I feel like they could probably just reuse some of these pieces, whether it's like the elbows, the feet, thighs, something of this figure with other characters. It is quite hard to figure out because it would have to be a new sculpt, and I don't really see them re-releasing this figure in the future. They can, but I don't know how good this figure will sell as is. As for the accessories of the figure, he should have a bendy wire articulated tail and at least 2 pairs of hands, one clenching and one fisted. And just like the Doc Ock, I don't see this character having multiple heads or face plates because he is just always kind of smiling or grimacing. And I don't see a lot of collectors changing the faceplate to like a regular face or a open mouth or something. As for the price, $35. It is just a basic figure. You do have the bendy wire tentacle, but it is one of them, not like the Doc Ock. So I would say $35 is a reasonable price for today's market. The next character is Vulture, and just like Scorpion, this would have to be an all new scope. And just looking at the figure, I don't see a lot of reuse potential for other characters. Now he does have armor bits, obviously the shoulder pads, the mask, obviously the wings, the gauntlets and the boots. To me, this is a great representation of Comic Vulture in this kind of live action style. I do love this look. I love it more than the MCU look, and that one's pretty good as well. As for the accessories, 2 pairs of hands, 1 grip, 1 fisted, and then obviously the wings, which should be articulated. They have been doing better articulated wings over time, and I do feel like since this is kind of more mechanical, it would be easy to hide some articulation points in this. And I don't see them giving an extra head sculpt because you don't even see the mouthpiece. You mainly just see his eyes and eyebrows, and again, don't really see Hasbro doing a whole new head sculpt just for that. As for the price, I do think it should be $40, but knowing Hasbro, I can easily see this going for $50, just like the Green Goblin did, the MCU version, because the wings are quite big, and I wouldn't mind that if the wings were heavily articulated, and a flight stand would also be nice to be included with this figure, but highly unlikely knowing Hasbro. And lastly, we do have Rhino. Now, just like the other characters in this, he would pretty much have to be an all new sculpt. The only thing I could see them trying to reuse would be the legs, either the Hydra Stomper figure legs or the Hulk Buster, but the details on those are completely different than this, so it would kind of stand out unless they do a rubbery overlay on top of those, but I don't really see that happening either, so he would have to be 100% new sculpt. As for the accessories, 2 different hands, 1 clenched, 1 fist, and that would be pretty much it as accessories. As for the price, I would say, knowing Hasbro, $60, just because he is a big chunk of plastic. If you look at the Venom, who I believe was also $60-$70, this would be kind of thicker than that, so I can easily see them wanting to charge that 60 to maybe even 70 is pushing it. But knowing Hasbro, they'll try to, wiggle their way through, knowing full well that us Spider-Man fans would eat up and pay up for this kind of character, and obviously at that price point he should be 100% new sculpt. Now for the next character, it is the Midnight Suns Robbie Reyes. Now this is the only way I do believe we will get this character. Obviously he did have the failed Engine of Vengeance in the past, and at that time a lot of HasLabs were like, if you don't back it, we will never make it again. Now that's kind of not the case because we did get a Goblin Queen, which was the X-Men 97 version. We did get the dude with the pentagram on his chest as a regular release. And we did get Mephisto in the made to order system not that long ago. Now yes, it is possible for us to get a comic book Robbie Reyes, but I just feel like Hasbro would kind of just not want to, just to fuck with us. So this is kind of the workaround I could see them doing to be like, well, we didn't do the comic one, but we did do this video game one. Now we did get one character from this video game in the past, and that was Iron Man, so it is not impossible for us to get Robbie Reyes, and it is pretty accurate to the comic. Now obviously you do have all those sculpted in lines as most like MCU suits have, also knowing Hasbro, they'll kind of be cheap and maybe not make an all new sculpt for it, and that way we can also put this with the comic figures. As for the accessories, it would be cool to get 2 heads, obviously one with the flame on and one regular, 2 gripping hands, and I would say 2 wide open and hopefully 2 fisted. As for the chain, it would be cool to get a new sculpted one. However, they did release a recent Symbiote Spider-Man with a new chain piece, so I could see them reusing that chain for this figure and pretty much any version of Ghost Rider in the future. I guess one cool thing they can do with it is make it a translucent plastic, so that way it looks like the chains are like red hot. But either way, this is a character I do really want to add to my collection. He is my favorite looking Ghost Rider. I just love the skull kind of helmet look, and obviously the Dodge Charger. I like the vehicle, and I just do think it's a cool design with the flames and stuff. It still does kind of suck that we never got that HasLab, but it was severely overpriced and obviously didn't fund, so that does suck. But this would be a good way for Hasbro to redeem themselves. Now the next video game I want to talk about is Marvel Rivals, and there are a plethora of characters we can get from this video game. Now it is rumored by Dave from Displaying Model Behavior that we will be getting a Spider-Man and Luna Snow 2-pack, as well as a Venom and Jeff the Landshark 2-pack. Now, I highly doubt these will be stylized new sculpts. It would be nice to see, because a lot of these character designs do remind me of Revoltech with the kind of over-exaggerated proportions, which I personally love. But knowing Hasbro, they want to make it as kind of neutral as possible, obviously to reuse future body modes as well as the current ones they have for these characters. And if they do certain suits that we don't have in the comic collection, comic collectors can easily buy these figures and they would fit nicely and not stand out too much from the rest of the comic figures. Now, there are a plethora of characters they can do. The first one I'm thinking about is Squirrel Girl. Now, I do think she would have to be a new sculpt because she is thicker in this video game than she is in the comics. Obviously, we did get a Squirrel Girl in the past many years ago. She was part of the vehicle figure wave a long time ago at this point. So this character would not only be good for people that missed out, like me, or just don't want that older figure because it is just severely outdated at this point. And she is just a basic design in terms of they can make this a new sculpt and reuse a lot of these parts in the future. Accessories would be 2 different heads, one neutral, one kind of smiling, 2 different sets of hands, obviously, and hopefully 1 to 2 squirrels. Next up would be Mantis. Now, this look is different than the one in the comics, so I don't really see a lot of comic collectors getting this figure, but I also do see maybe a few getting it for a more kind of modern look to put with your modern collection. The next character I think they should do is Hela. I mentioned this character in my comic Most Wanted video, so another way they can release her is through Marvel Rivals. She would have to be an all new sculpt because she has a lot of this sculpted detail, and hopefully she would come with a cloth wired cape. And if she were to come with that, she'll probably be around 30 to 35 bucks, which I would happily pay for. The next 2 characters would be Cloak and Dagger. This to me is a pretty obvious one. We did get Cloak and Dagger in the past, but they are outdated now. So if they were to make these character designs, it would be a nice addition to the collection, not only for the quote-unquote new collectors, but also people who want to get rid of the old ones. Now, obviously, there are a plethora of characters they can do for Marvel Rivals. These are just the ones that kind of stood out to me that I feel like they could do, and obviously easy repaints as well if they don't go with the new sculpted route, which I highly doubt they would. Now let's talk about the PS5 Spider-Man 2 video game, and the characters I want to see would be Kraven and Lizard. Now both of these would have to be an all new sculpt. Kraven is taller than Spider-Man, but shorter than Venom. The Marvel Legends Spider-Man is about 6, so this will be probably about a 7 to 7.5 inch action figure. Now there's no current body I could see them reusing for this character, so he would have to be all new. As for reusing this body with other characters, it is quite hard. Now they can do it because they can make the gauntlets a separate rubbery overlay, and obviously the jacket would be a separate piece, and his belt piece will also be a separate rubbery overlay, and most likely his knees as well. So if you were to take all that off, it would just be a shirtless guy wearing pants and boots. So I do feel like they could reuse that kind of bigger mid-sized body for other comic characters. The only one I could think of kind of that size would be Doc Samson, but he is rumored to be releasing later in 2026, so I don't know what other kind of characters can reuse this kind of 7-inch scale body. As for the accessories, he would have to come with 3 extra hands in my opinion, 1 set of fisted hands, 1 set of kind of clenching hands, and then 1 set of gripping hands to obviously hold his knife. Would love to see him come with like a spear, or what would also be cool for this character to come with would be like the mask of Scorpion, maybe a gauntlet of Electro, or the helmet of Rhino, just because he did end up killing those characters in the video game, so it would be cool for him to come with those kinds of accessories. And as for the head sculpts, I do think he should come with at least 2, 1 normal kind of grimacing and 1 kind of clenching teeth, and maybe even a screaming head as well if Hasbro was feeling it, but most likely he would only come with 1, hopefully 2. As for the Lizard from this video game, this is the one I have a kind of 0% chance of them making this because of how big he is. He would have to be pretty much bigger than the Venom, and that was a 10-inch figure, which was about 70 bucks if I remember. As for reusing this body with other characters, the only one that kind of came to mind would be Stegron, but I feel like that would be too big for Stegron and too textured as well. So this would have to be 100% new sculpt with no reuse. So if they were to release this, the only way I could see them doing it is through the made to order system. But I don't really see too many people buying this because it would most likely be around $80 to $90 to even probably $100. As for the accessories, he should come with 2 hands, clenched and fisted, and obviously the tail should be articulated as well as the jaw. Now the next section would just be symbiotes. The first one is obviously Scream, and again, all new sculpt. She has all that sculpted detail, the yellow and the red paint as well. Would also be cool to see an articulated tail, just like they did with the recent Inhumans Medusa figure. So this is one I do think they should consider making. As for the price, she is a standard $28 figure and should come with 2 sets of hands, 1 fisted, 1 clenched. Now the last symbiotes I want to talk about from this video game, the symbiote goons. I don't know the names of these characters. If they had names, I forgot at this point. I haven't played the game in like 2 years, I think. As for the big guy in the back, I don't really see them doing him. It is a lot of sculpted detail. The chest is pretty plain, but obviously the arms and head and kind of shoulder area would have to be all new sculpt with all those veins. So they could reuse that body for other kind of comic book symbiotes. Would be cool. Maybe repaint it. Obviously this one's gray. Maybe do like a black version, a red version, and you could put those like with null. That's kind of what I want to do in the future within my collection. And for the guy in the back, he would just be a standard $50 deluxe figure. As for the other 4, they can be on the same body with just different accessories for each of them. For example, the yellow one is just plain with the clenched hands. You do have the green one, which is crouching, and that has like these bigger kind of tentacles in the back. As for the pink and red one in the back, they also have tentacles on their backs, but they're not as thick as the green ones. And obviously if they were to just do one and include like 2 different tentacles you could put on the back, 2 different heads, obviously one with the mouth open, one with the mouth closed, and a set of clenching hands as well as fisted hands, they can just repaint it obviously 4 times. You have the yellow, the green, the pink, and the red, and I would probably get at least 1 of each, but most likely, knowing me, probably 2 of each. Now as for the price, I would say your standard $28 figure, but a cool thing they should do is make it a $30 to maybe even $35 figure if they included everything I said, multiple tendrils for the back and symbiotic kind of goop throughout. Would make it nice, and obviously you can just repaint them in the future for other looks as well. Now in front of you are just a bunch of different Spider-Man suits from the video games that I do kind of see them doing. Now obviously they've done different video games Spider-Man, both for Miles and Peter, so I think the best course of action for suited figures would be if you can put them with your comic collection, so that way both kinds of collectors can get them. Obviously your Spider-Man only collectors, your comic collectors, and your video game collectors. If you made, let's say, Arachnid Spider, you could put that in your comic shelf. As for the Hunter Spider suit, that is pretty much only for the video game. I don't think that appeared in the comics, so that suit I don't see a lot of people buying. But obviously if they were going to do another Spider-Man video game wave, they would have to include probably 2-3 different Spider-Man. Now that was my list. It was pretty short, but again, we don't have too many video game figures, and because over the last like 3-4 years they haven't given us more and more kind of arcade style with the Sentinels, but also the recent Gamerverse Capcom style figures. Now again, there are other video game characters they can do, especially from the Spider-Man games, like Mary Jane, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn, or even the Death Chick. The only reason I mentioned those is because they are just civilians with new heads, which, you know, Hasbro would want to do those because they're simple, but would not sell. I would not buy those. I would probably just wait for a sale. Another character I was kind of thinking of was Sandman. Now I have seen a lot of people use the MCU Sandman as the like mini Marcos, so I can just see Hasbro just re-releasing that, maybe a new head, different accessories, and market it as a Spider-Man 2 version of Sandman. And you do also have a plethora of different suits they can make from all 3 Spider-Man games, but hopefully if they were to do them, they would do either ones we haven't had in years or new suit designs that we don't have in our collections yet. Now that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Now that was my most wanted video game Marvel Legend action figures. So what did you guys think of this list? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it whatever? What other video games would you like to see Hasbro make when it comes to the Marvel Legends license? Let me know in the comments below and I'll try to respond to you as fast as I can. But either way, thanks for watching. Now fuck off.